𝔸𝕤𝕠𝕠𝕠𝕠 Excellent Adventures, the BMW R60/2 and the Royal Canadian Mounted Police. Let's talk about that. Let's get cracking. Good Moto morning. Welcome, beautiful people. Welcome to Kraken's Garage. I'm your host, Eric, and on today's episode, we're uploading another chapter of Ann's Excellent Adventures. And she talks about a BMW. I think she had the nomenclature incorrect on this one, but I could be wrong. I think it's an R60/2. Unusual bike that she bought in a box to fix up, and it kind of got wrapped around the axle, and we talk about how she straightened that out. So let's get to the video.
We went to a rally in Kalispell, BMW rally. BMW has rallies every year, and they have them either on the West Coast or on the East Coast or in the middle of the country.
Next year it's in Richmond.
It's in Richmond. Okay, right in our backyard.
Yep.
But this one was in Kalispell, Montana. So we rode from California to Kalispell, and while we were there was a guy selling a basket case. It was a little BMW R65 single, 250cc single. I never understood the nomenclature on BMWs.
I don't understand it myself.
What was a 65? So this thing was in pieces. The wheels were rusted, the spokes were rusted. It was a mess. But he was selling it pretty cheap. So I said I would buy it. And Matt Capri was there from 𝔸𝕠𝕠𝕠𝕠, and Matt said he would take it back to Long Beach on his big semi full of stuff that he had taken to the rally. So he stuck it on the back, tied it on the tailgate or something, brought it home. But the deal on the bike was it was a Canadian mounted policeman who was selling it, Kalispell being close to the Canadian border. And he had come down to the rally to unload this bike. And he said he had a title for it, but the title was at home. And he had documents to show where he'd bought it from, you know, the provenance on the bike, so I could get it registered in California in the United States. So I came home on his say-so, and he never sent the title, he never sent the documents, and I wrote him, and he never sent, and he never sent. So finally, I wrote a letter to the Canadian Mounted Police, and I named this guy and said that he had done this thing and sold me a bike and didn't give me the title, had promised it but didn't deliver, and could they do anything to help me? And I guess they got on his case, which is what I figured they would do. And
It's a black eye to the Royal Canadian Mounted Police.
That's what I figured. So the paperwork showed up in the mail finally, no comment from him. I think the guy probably just forgot about it, but I wrote him, you know.
Still not an excuse.
Still, it's not an excuse, yeah. So I had a lot of fun with this thing. It was a learning experience for me. We took the wheels, and I unscrewed all the spokes on it and ditched them. I bought all new spokes for it, chrome, put them all on, screwed them, tightened them up, sent the wheels out to be trued up, is that the term?
Correct.
And assembled the bike, added this, added that, got a little plate of a windscreen on the front of it, and it was white with the black traditional BMW pinstriping. And the nearest dealer to work on this little 250 single carburetor was Brown's dealership up in Pomona. And I said something to Brown about I'd be bringing the bike to him for service. And he said, "No, you won't." And I said, "Why not? What's the matter? Won't you work on an R65? He said, "No, that's not it." He said, "It won't climb the hill to Pomona. It can't get up here." That was my first clue that this thing really didn't have too much oomph.
I got to ride that one too, and you're not lying. It was the most gutless thing I ever rode in my life.
And no, I think the 65 maybe referred to the year.
It was beautiful.
It was beautiful to look at it.
It was beautiful.
It really was classic, lovely, in white with the stripes.
Yep.
And I had a pudding bowl helmet I wore with it. and my black leathers, it was just trick. But you couldn't take it on the freeway anywhere. You could just barely take it on the road and keep up with the cars. So I finally unloaded that somewhere. So that was, as I say, it was a learning experience. All bikes are, aren't they?
Absolutely.
In the long run, this string of things that I've talked about, all of them were learning experiences as I went. And I never get tired of learning, trying, experimenting.
It's been the fabric of my life and my very soul of who I am as a person.
Yeah, that was kind of me too.
Yeah.
And women never understand it. I used to have men, when they'd watch me park the Boxer and get off and I was a woman, they'd come over and they'd say to me, "It's just great that you like to ride." And I said, "Yeah, I do." And he said, "What can I say to my wife to convince her that it's really fun and she should ride? How can I make her do this thing with me?" And I said, they either do or they don't. They either are the risk takers and they want to feel it. To me, it was like downhill skiing, the whole thing, the experience. And I said, good luck with it. I understand your problem, but there's no magic words that I can give you that will sell the idea to the little woman. I had a doctor, a woman, a black woman, small, very little, who was my physician for a couple of years. And she said her husband had a Harley, and he wanted her to ride, and he was going to buy her a 1200, which was a sport bike.
Sportster.
Yeah, Harley Sportster, which she was of a size to ride. And she was nibbling at the idea and getting interested in it. And I never did, when I parted company with her, I never heard out how that worked out, whether she actually did it and he got her to do it or not. But I recommend it for all women. There's ways to get around the size problem. There's ways to get around the clothing problem. And it will just enrich your life no end. We took, maybe 6, 7 motorcycle trips together. We did from Scandinavia. We did 2 trips to the Alps. We did a trip to Scotland, down and across to Ireland, and went all around Ireland on bikes. Came back again to London. Those were rented bikes, and we turned them in, ran around Wales. And ultimately, we took a trip to New Zealand and ran around New Zealand and flew home from Auckland, both islands. And it was a ball of fun all the way. Spent a lot of money. I mean, you have to have the dough.
Take it with you.
Yeah, you can't take it with you. Exactly.
Yeah. So that concludes the BMW R60/2. I hope you enjoyed today's story. Just something to think about when you buy bikes and you don't get the paperwork with you. You're going to have to chase it down if people get laxed about it. So something to think about. Nevertheless, it's the holiday season. Ann and I would like to wish each and every one of you a safe, healthy, and happy holiday season, whatever you believe in. Thank you for joining us today. We are very blessed. Peace.